Middlesbrough kicked off their pre-season campaign with a thrilling 3-3 draw with Mansfield in their first pre-season friendly of the summer. Now, for Middlesbrough, it was a match that was it was always going to be of real interest to supporters. It's the first match of Rob Edwards' reign. It was going to be a real sort of acid test of where Middlesbrough's team are in terms of personnel and in terms of the way that they're shaping up under Rob Edwards. And I think as far as the match was concerned, it probably went as many sort of assumed. Middlesbrough came out with a strong team. It was a strong starting 11. Finazaz was injured, but Middlesbrough put out a decent-looking first 11. And in the first half, Middlesbrough were really, really very much in control. 3-0 up. They went thanks to goals from Dale Fry, Tommy Conway, and Morgan Whittaker. And it was just in the second half when things started to fall apart a little bit. When a flurry of changes were made, there was 5 changes made at half time. There was 6 made on the hour mark, and you just sort of felt that kind of disjointed nature to Middlesbrough's performance. But I think the most important thing with pre-season, as all the managers say, and it is the sort of cliche that it's not really about the results; it's about the way that the team is sort of shaping up. And there was definitely a good few highlights within the team, despite the fact that Middlesbrough were held to a 3-3 draw. That team in the starting in the first half was really quite putting a strong performance. There was some really good displays. I think most notably, I noticed was Sammy Silvera. He was really, really bright. He was playing on the left side, almost playing as a wing back, and he used his pace really well during that first half to really get at the full back, find his way to the byline. He was getting balls into the box. He had a sort of cross shot that very nearly evaded the goalkeeper and went into the back of the net. And I think for Sammy Silvera, he was one of a number of players who really wanted to take that opportunity against Mansfield to show what he could do, to really find his way into Rob Edwards' plans. And he wasn't the only one, really. I think that first half 11, it was pretty much as strong as Middlesbrough can get. You had Hayden Hackney and Aidan Morris in midfield. The defence was pretty much as you would have expected with Luke Ayling at the right wing back. You had Dale Fry, Rav Vandenberg, Darragh Lenihan at centre back. It was great to see him back in there, and he got 45 minutes under his belt as well. In the attacking third, you had Morgan Whittaker. You had Tommy Conway. It was a really sort of solid looking Middlesbrough team. And I think it just went to show what a lot of Middlesbrough fans know, that in terms of our starting 11, we look quite strong. We've got a decent squad there. I know that Finazaz probably would have been in that starting 11 had he been fit. But that just goes to show the strength that's sort of there. And we put in a really good display. But it was just in the second half when those changes started being made that we really kind of saw the glaring gaps within that team. But as I say, Sammy Silvera was really impressive. In the second half, some of the squad players who came into the team, they didn't really maybe take that opportunity as much as they might have hoped. Mika Hamilton had a couple of bright moments. He had a really good moment where he darted in between 2 defenders and let fire with a right-footed effort, which nearly beat the goalkeeper, and that was really impressive. And that was much more like the Mika Hamilton that we saw at Manchester City, someone who was really quite fearless, really quite happy to get at defenders and get a shot away. Hopefully that's something that we'll be able to see a little bit more of over the course of this summer and potentially going into the new season if he is able to prove that he's earned a spot in that starting 11. I think other points that I picked up from that match was Morgan Whittaker. He was really good as well. He was probably one of Middlesbrough's best performers, and that was really good to see. It was quite a frustrating first few months for him at the Riverside after joining from Plymouth in the January transfer window. We didn't really get going. We saw little moments where he kind of showed what he could do, but it was nothing like the player that we saw at Plymouth and the player that Middlesbrough forked out to bring into the Riverside. I think on his day, Morgan Whittaker can be one of the best players in the Championship. And I think what we maybe saw against Mansfield, I know that the match has to be kept in a little bit of context because we're not playing a side who are a Championship side, someone who's a sort of equivalent to Middlesbrough, I guess. So that has to be kind of kept in context. But Morgan Whittaker, he looked confident. He looked up for it. He took his goal really, really well, which was pleasing to see because that is one of his best traits, I think. That finishing and technical ability, it's something I want to see more of from him going into this new season, finding the back of the net and getting into those goal-scoring positions. And he took that goal really, really well. So he was probably one of the other main standouts, I guess, for Middlesbrough. Going into that match. Aidan Morris, he put in a really strong performance in midfield. You don't really expect anything less from Aidan Morris. I think his first season at the club was really, really impressive. He certainly proved himself as one of Middlesbrough's most important players, if not the most important player. And I thought it was quite telling that he held the captain's armband going into that first match against Mansfield. Obviously, we had with Dale Fry on the pitch, we had Luke Ayling on the pitch, we had Darragh Lenihan on the pitch. A lot of players. We had Hayden Hackney on the pitch as well. All players who have held the armband in the past. All people who would be contenders, in my opinion, to hold the armband going into the new season. Obviously, Johnny Howson was the club captain last season, and there's still a bit of a question mark over what's going on with him. But with every passing day, you'd think that his days with Middlesbrough are numbered. So Middlesbrough will be looking for a new captain going into the new season. And the fact that Aidan Morris was holding the armband when the teams came out, that for me could be a real hint as to the fact that he could potentially be holding the armband come the start of the new season, which for me would be a really good appointment. I think I could certainly see him. I said it last season that I could see him as a future captain for Middlesbrough, and that may well be the case going into this season. I think in terms of other performances, I think it was, like I said earlier on, it was great to see Darragh Lenihan back in the team. He got 45 minutes under his belt, which was good to see. I think it's very much a case of managing his minutes, trying to nurse him back to fitness, because he could be a really, really big player for us this season if he can prove himself fit. Alex Bangura came on and got some game time as well, and he's been out for a long, long time. And I think Bangura and Darragh Lenihan and Riley McGree, to be fair as well, who started the game. I think all three of those players, they're like, I've almost forgotten about them. It's been that long since we've kind of seen them on a consistent basis. So it's really, really good to see them back in the team, and it feels like, I'm not just saying this because Middlesbrough haven't actually signed anyone this summer, but it feels like they're almost like three new signings going into the new season. I think if all three of those players can prove themselves and keep themselves fit, that'll be a really big boost to have an experienced defender in Darragh Lenihan, someone who, if he can prove his fitness, could be one of Middlesbrough's top centre backs going into the new season. Alex Bangura, if he can prove himself to be fit and ready to go, I think fans will be really, really excited to see what he could offer at a left wing back. And Riley McGree, he's someone that Middlesbrough fans have been just praying would be able to stay fit, because on his day he is undoubtedly one of Middlesbrough's best attacking creative midfielders. So the fact that he seems to be back in amongst it, he's been very much part of Middlesbrough's pre-season in Portugal. He's done interviews. He's been speaking about how frustrating it's been being injured, but he seems very, very much part of Middlesbrough's squad at the moment, and it looks like he's gearing up to be a really key part of the team going into the new season. So the fact that he was able to play against Mansfield, that was a really big boost, and hopefully something that we'll be able to see more of in the next couple of pre-season games. So all in all, I think while it was a 3-3 draw, I think the result is secondary. I don't think it matters too much that Middlesbrough drew 3-3. I think there was a lot of positive signs there. I don't think you can read too much into the fact that we conceded 3 goals in the second half, because there was a lot of changes. There was a lot of young players with not very much experience on that pitch in the second half. But the fact that certain fringe players, as I was saying, managed to step up and show a little bit more of what they've potentially got to offer. Talking about the likes of Mika Hamilton and Sammy Silvera in particular. That was really pleasing to see. I think a lot of Middlesbrough's first team players looked confident and fit and ready and up for the challenge of the new season. Most notably people like Morgan Whittaker, who I think could have a really big role to play this season. And yeah, like I said, I think some of those returning injured players, it was great to see them as well. And hopefully, if Middlesbrough can keep them fit, they could have a really big role to play under Rob Edwards going into the start of the new season. Obviously, it's only 3 weeks away now, that first home game against Swansea City. There's a lot of work to do then. Before then, I think Middlesbrough need to get this team whipped into shape a little bit. I think there's also a lot of work that needs to be done on the transfer front. I think as much as some of these fringe players did really well in the match against Mansfield, I'm still not convinced that this squad will have enough to challenge for the top 6 at the moment. So it'll be really, really important that Kieran Scott and his recruitment team go out there and manage to bring in a few new faces going into the start of the season. It sounds like a couple of deals could potentially be on the way. Alfie Jones from Hull City, sounds like he could be someone who's potentially going to be coming into the club. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Obviously, there's the situation with Callum Britton at Blackburn, who Middlesbrough are pursuing. There was the links with Danny Ings last week as well. So there's certain irons in the fire. I think for Middlesbrough now, it's just about getting these deals over the line, getting these players into the team, and hopefully getting people embedded in the team and in the squad so that they're ready and capable of hitting the ground running once the season gets underway. So I want to know what you think about Middlesbrough's clash against Mansfield. What did you think of the result? What did you think about the performance of the team? Drop into the comments below. Let me know what you thought. And if you have enjoyed this video, please do hit like, please do hit subscribe as well. And I will catch up with you next time.